Hey, book lovers! Welcome back to another episode of the Book Lovers Club. And y'all, today it's a special episode because I am joined in the studio by author Avery Irons, and I am so excited to talk with her. I've been reading her newest historical fiction called Belonging to the Air. Let's welcome her to the studio. Hello, hello,
Thank you,
hello.
Joanie. Thank you. I'm so excited to be here. Watcher, now I get to sit in the chair. I guess I always sit in this chair, but I get to sit in this chair.
Before we jump into the discussions and the questions, can you just tell the listeners a little bit more about you and the type of books that you like to write?
Definitely. So my name is Avery Irons. I am a Black lesbian writer originally from Illinois. I live in upstate New York right now. And, writing is kind of half my life. I also do like policy work around children's mental health on the other side of my life. But I'm like a long-term reader, book lover, and then somehow managed to write a book. I tend to write a lot of historical fiction, especially about like Black experiences. And I'm very curious about kind of the history of Black LGBTQ people.
Yeah.
I feel like that's kind of lost history, and that we need to fight to preserve and recreate it and all those things. And so, really, I'm always trying to answer the question of like, what has life been like for us for, you know, hundreds of years in this country? I'm an Aries. I like to cook. I love tea. And I mean, the beverage tea. Sometimes the other tea, but definitely the beverage tea. And yeah, I'm just so excited to like be finding like people who want to read this kind of book and getting it out into the world.
Yeah, so I love that you are dedicated to telling our history and telling our stories. Like you said, things have gotten lost in translation over the years, so we really do need to learn about Black queer history. With that, can
Yeah.
you tell us a little bit more about the book and
Yeah,
just the story and what people
absolutely.
can expect from reading it?
Yes. So to the Air is set in the early 1800s, and it takes place in both the Midwest and in Harlem during the Harlem Renaissance. So it follows the story of Bird Bennett. She is being raised to become the matriarch of her town in rural Illinois. And I don't know if they're familiar with the term Freedmen's Town, but basically these were towns that were started by Black folks who got free during
Mhm.
slavery or right after slavery. And so she's kind of ready to like take on this role. And then she falls in love with her best friend, who is another girl. And that creates issues in the town, which you got to read the book to find out about. But
Yes.
she then remembers. So in early adulthood, she decides that she won't live a life of self denial, moves to Harlem. And kind of, I wanted to depict Harlem not in like, there's, touches of Harlem Renaissance, but I wanted it to be
Yeah.
about everyday folks. Like, cause we are just everyday folks who like work
Mhm.
as seamstresses like Bird. We're just living our everyday life and just happen to have been like on the periphery of the Harlem Renaissance. But she's ultimately called back to her hometown when a neighboring white town starts trying to push Black folks off our land. And so it's very much the arcs kind of follow my own life in some ways of like, I was a young Black girl raised
Yeah.
amongst like kind of a family town in Illinois, but I wanted to take it back 100 years to think about what would it have been like for me 100 years ago, um, dealing with my family, whom I love, but also like just how do you navigate life and relationships. So there are love stories and there's some heartbreak and then more love stories. And there's kind of also like what it was like to be a Black woman
Yeah.
at that point in history. And all the ways in which we support each other and all the ways in which we had to battle,
Yeah.
for every like inch of our being.
Yes, so you mentioned that it kinda mirrors your experience. So, I know you were raised in Central Illinois. How was
Mhm.
that experience, and how did that, like, shape you as an author and what you pour into your writing?
Oh my gosh, so deeply. I mean, I'm of a certain age that, grew up before technology and all those things.
Mhm.
And so you spent so much time with family and friends and deeply entrenched in your community and church and all of those things. And, you were also very strictly gender guarded and told all
Yep.
the ways in which, you would be as you grew up in the world. And as I was growing up with all those instructions, and starting to realize this doesn't work for me and doesn't fit me, and I was never, primed to be the town matriarch, but you did have this moment of like,
Mhm.
am I being who my family wants me to be?
Yeah.
And kind of dealing with that tension, but also like I need to live my life.
Mhm.
Because other folks out here living their lives, they just aren't gay, but they're living their lives. Um, so it definitely, I feel like I ended up just soaking up a lot of, this both the love amongst the women in my family,
Yeah.
and the ways that they navigated life, especially in like the 50s and 60s. And then also recognizing that in the same ways that they had to plot their own path, I needed to plot my own path.
Yeah.
And it had to do with some of the sadness of like, for a while at least, that's going to take me away because I don't know that I can stay here
Mhm.
and be who I need to be. And so I think that infuses a lot of the book, that tension between I want to belong.
Yeah.
But the way things are now, my community isn't necessarily ready for me to belong. And do I stay and wait
Mhm.
and bet that that's going to happen, or do I just go off into the world and see what I can make for myself, which is what Bird did.
I love that, cause that mirrors a lot of people's journey where they have to
I think
leave their
so.
hometown to really
Yeah.
soar.
Yeah, I feel like that's the story of so many of us, and like that end
Yes.
up in big cities like New York City, Chicago, Los Angeles, San Fran, where it's just like I have to find a place that
Yeah.
I can make my way in this world, and it sometimes means traveling far and having a little fun in different cities in the world.
Mhm, that's real.
Yeah.
So how much research went into
Ah.
writing this book? I could tell already. I'm like, "Oh, she really researched a lot for this."
Yeah, I mean, I got lucky in the sense that like I am a total book nerd and history nerd, and so I went to the University of Illinois at Urbana-Champaign for undergrad and took every African American history course I could take just based on interest there. So I felt
Mhm.
like I had a good grounding by the time 10 years later in my late 20s, I got the idea for the book. Um, that like, okay, I have a good grounding of African American history. And so I knew the broad strokes, and then it just became about really figuring out what are the nuances, especially place based. Like I'm from Central Illinois, which is like Decatur, Champaign, Springfield, for anybody who cares. And
I used to live in
it's-
Springfield.
okay, okay, you know
Yeah, I lived there for 4
this.
years.
Okay, okay. We claim you. We claim
Yeah.
you. But this is like set in Central or Southern Illinois,
Yeah.
so I had to learn more about that region because I wanted to put it there because it was closer to kind of the state line where folks were first crossing into the north. And so I had to learn about East St. Louis history, which I thought I knew a lot about. Turns out I like had missed big things, which I fault like the education system. Like,
Yes.
how do we not know about like the East St. Louis massacre if you grew up in the state of Illinois?
Mhm.
Um, and so then there's like the nuances of things like when did people get phones? And how much did land cost? How much would it have
Yeah.
cost to like buy all that land 100 years ago? So you don't know how much you don't know in the beginning. So I guess it's good that I didn't know because I would have been too scared. But as you're kind of just
Mhm.
plodding through, you just start finding the facts and the history as you get to a point where you're like, oh, I need to make this accurate. And so I really wanted to try to make it as accurate as possible because to me, it's about the preservation of history. So
Yes.
there might have been a little license here or there, but it's mostly as factually accurate as I could get it.
Just the dedication that it takes to, really do a story well like that and do the research and make sure that you're representing that time period
Mm.
accurately. A lot of authors, I don't know, I feel like that's a critique sometimes when we see period pieces is that there is
Yeah.
too many modern touches. And I'm like, that is not how people styled their hair, their nails, the clothing,
Yeah.
but a lot of things have been lost. Sometimes it's hard to recreate those things, but I think that's why
Mm.
writing and books really give you that liberty because you don't need to worry
Mm.
about that like you would in like a film or a TV show. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. There might be some points where you just leave out a detail or two in a book.
Mhm.
Fill in the visuals, folks. Fill it in for me, please. Thank you.
So, just a little bit about your writing journey. When did you first start writing?
In life or this book?
Yes, in life. In life, yes. How long have you been writing?
Forever. I mean, the story is that my mom told me, she tells a story that when I was 3, I told her I wanted to write a poem. And she said, I never knew that you even knew what a poem was at that point. So she took me to see Maya Angelou, who was in town, coming to town. And so,
Wow.
like, when I was 3, I have no recollection of this, but
Okay. But
it
still,
must
that's
have, like,
amazing.
sunk in. And then maybe when I definitely wrote poetry for a long time. And then probably when I was 12, I tried to like write my first novel, which was like this science fiction thing set in like post-apocalyptic Denver. I don't know what I was on when I was 12. It's just like out here, like imagining wildness. And then kind of went, but I think I was primarily a poet for a really long time. But then I started writing a lot of narrative poetry. And
Hmm.
so I was like, well, how can I put these narrative poems together to make like a story? And then it occurred to me that I just needed to write a novel. So I started writing a little short fiction. And then, so I think I probably did a big switch over to fiction in my probably like late 20s. And I don't know, if I keep going, I'm going to tell you how old I am.
I
We
understand.
didn't break
Okay,
it.
we can gatekeep the age. Okay.
I've
But I
earned all
mean,
the
you
years. I've
already
earned them
kind of
all.
gave some hints that your mom took you to see Maya Angelou when you were younger. So.
Yes, exactly. Yes, I mean, I remember writing my whole life.
Wow.
I don't ever remember not writing.
So, since you've been writing your whole life and have this experience now as a published author, there are a lot of people who are at the beginning stages of their writing journey. Like, do you have any
Mhm.
tips for someone that's just starting out?
Yeah, I two big things is trust your vision. Like trust it. Like I had this idea of like, I'm gonna write a book about a black lesbian in the early 1900s in the Midwest. And it was like, if I'd really thought about that and not trusted it, like who's gonna read this book? Nobody's gonna want to read this book. But I knew to me that it was beautiful and that it would
Yeah,
find the story would find people, and that people would also benefit from it and enjoy it as much as I did. So just really trusting that vision, no matter what people tell you, like, oh, well, that doesn't sell now, or literary fiction is dead, or nobody's reading
yeah,
historical. That's not true. We are all out here and we all are reading things. So trust your vision and the story that has been gifted to you, and don't give up on it. Like it took me 20 years almost to write this.
wow.
And so I never gave up on it. And now it's like, nice. Ah, I did it. So that, and then just make sure you get in the seat every day.
Yeah.
Even if you only write a word, there are days where I was like, I got to write every day. Sometimes it was like 5 words because life was lengthened and that was all I could do. But I committed that I would write something every day. And even if you hate those 5 words or whatever, just don't give up. And if you keep adding 5 words at a time, even it's going to take you a long time, but you will get there eventually. So I think to me, it's the perseverance and
Yeah,
the ability to just maintain trust in your vision, um, that it will find
yeah.
its people.
Yes. Speaking of finding people, are you just traditionally published or do you do a hybrid indie?
Right now I'm traditionally published. This took so long. There was no time to write anything else or do anything else. I have one kind of digital novella that's on my website, that's like free for everybody to use. But I'm kind of curious about the kind of self-publishing world and, what are the open paths for writers, especially Black writers, as I feel like it's getting harder for us to like find venues and outlets for our stories. Um, because of
That's true.
so many things happening in the world.
Yeah,
And so how do we just take it on ourselves then to get our work out there and keep it out there?
yeah.
And traditional publishing can catch up if they need to. But I was published with a small press, University Press of Kentucky, Screen Door Press is the imprint, and I had a lovely, lovely experience with them. And so I also just encourage folks to think about all the ranges of things. Like you don't have to go through Penguin Random House and like try to like
Yes.
die on that, hill versus like really think about, do you want to self-publish? Do you want to do traditional? Do you want to do small press? Do you want to do indie press, like hybrid? There's so many options for writers these days, which I think has the field in flux, which I think of as a good thing of like, you know
Mhm.
what? Let's shake it up and put some power back with the artists as opposed to
Yes.
with the corporations.
Yes. You know, I will say this venture, like talking to so many authors and hearing about each of your journeys, everybody's doing different things and their journey
Mhm.
is really unique to them. So I think
Mhm.
that anybody that's interested in writing, one, listen to these episodes. Every
Yes,
author that
definitely.
I've brought on this podcast has dropped so many gems and has really
Yeah.
given a lot of good advice about how to get started. So,
Mhm.
listen to these episodes, y'all, like all of them, every single author. But
Yeah,
I'm just
definitely.
grateful that you all are so generous with how much you share because I feel like it's a lot of gatekeeping in every
Yeah.
industry.
Yeah.
Hmm.
I
A lot
agree
of
with
gatekeeping.
that. I think you find though a lot of writers who recognize some, I won't use the curse terms that people use, but the the shenanigans that happen in this field, and really most of us are just trying to get stories out into the world, and so whatever we can do to help the next person get their story out, because there's no limit on stories. like
Yeah.
we all want to be reading stuff, and I love to read stuff I didn't write, and I'm blown away by it. Like, how does somebody's brain come up with this? That's just such a gift that we can give each other. And I think most folks are like, okay, let me help you get your gift out into the world.
Yeah. So, do you have any other projects that are coming up in the pipeline to let readers know about?
Yeah. So there's, oh my gosh, another novel that is scaring me. It's going well. I just, after the trauma of so many years on this one, I'm like, I don't want to take that long again. But I also
Yeah.
work full time and have a 9-year old and all the things. Um, so there's a novel that's in this same universe as Belonging to the Air, but it's about the founding of the town, and all the things that brought the town together and its foundation, and then the challenges of being a free Black town um, at that point. And then there's some stories that didn't make it into this book,
Hmm.
that I want to just release as short stories. So working on those. I run a Substack. That's really nerdy. If you're nerdy and you're interested in historical fiction, it's the Substack for you. Because it's just the thing that I discovered about writing this is that whenever I go and I speak places and I start talking about it, everybody has their family's great migration or migration stories. Everybody's got their own story of
Yeah.
the aunt who did this and the uncle who was that. And it becomes this amazing conversation. And so my thing is, well, why did I wait to start the conversation until the book was out? So the Substack is basically the things that I found that I find along the way as I'm researching and writing, and just to toss out to folks and maybe to help somebody else. So you don't have to spend a month researching this thing. Here you go. So those are the big things happening right now.
Okay.
Yeah, I need more time. I need 3 more hours in every day.
Yeah. So, how are you juggling all of this? Like the writing, your
Slowly,
job, parenting?
Sl- slowly, and things fall down sometimes. I just try to be structured, and I think there's sometimes jealousy, pangs of jealousy I feel for folks who have unlimited time to write, or who maybe have who are in academia and can take their summers and write. I don't know if
Yeah.
they actually do that, but that's what I imagine as non-academic. um so I just again try to do a little bit at a time, and there are months when I get a bunch of stuff done, and there are months where it's well, I had book events this month, and so I got less writing done, but I did other things. Or my the job that pays the bills was off the wall this month, and I had to, kind of work more than I, usually do.
Yeah.
So I think it's just acknowledging
Yeah.
human and humanity, and it will get that out there when it's meant to get out there.
Yeah. That's something that I deal with. I work full time as well in
Mhm.
academia, but I'm on the
Okay.
administration side.
Okay.
So, the work ebbs and flows. So sometimes there are periods of the year where it's just busier or my students are really needing a lot more support and it impacts
Yeah.
my energy for this.
Yes.
So
Absolutely.
we have to show ourselves some grace because it's a
Absolutely.
lot to
Absolutely.
juggle. It really is. It's a lot to
It is a lot.
juggle.
I know.
How do
And
you practice? Oh, I'm sorry. What were you saying?
I was gonna say until we hit the lotto, although I don't
Yes.
play, so
I'm not a big gambler. I am
Yeah, me.
not. I feel like it's like giving your money away, but I feel like gambling's become so
Right.
normalized now. But anyway,
Oh my gosh.
it's so
Totally.
normalized. It really is.
Mhm. Yeah.
Yeah, but how do you self-care? Like, what are some of your self-care practices?
Can I say reading? Do I can say reading?
Yeah, reading, yes.
Yeah.
That's one of my self-care practices for sure.
Excellent. Yeah, reading. I love my paper books, audiobooks. What else? I like to walk. Like I did, I don't know, like I'm always telling folks about like Girl Trek. I did like the Girl Trek self-care school last
Yeah.
summer, which was like all about taking care of yourself as Black women and improving our health. So I'm especially now this season, it's so nice. I'm
Yes.
like always trying to get a walk in every day. Um, Also just like really honoring things like I need sleep. And so how do I like make sure I get enough rest and sleep? I don't bounce back the
Yeah.
ways I used to. So honoring kind of body needs. I really like to cook. So just making good meals for folks and my family. Um, yeah, trips are nice occasionally when I get to do it,
Hmm.
but yeah, so I like to
What's one
just
of your
chill.
favorite dishes?
Oh, well, to eat and to cook, Imma throw this out there, but people need not challenge me. I think that I make the best baked macaroni and cheese in the world. So,
Really?
yes. So
That's a tall claim.
I know. So people can bring it if they want to, but they may walk away crying. So I love to make that, like banana pudding. I also like other things, like I like to make paella, like cassoulets, which are like French bean chicken dishes. I like to barbecue sometimes, but my spouse gets mad and says that it takes too long. So I get in trouble.
I'm taking my first grilling lesson today with my cousin because I really want to
Okay,
learn how to
okay.
barbecue. I want to camp,
Yeah.
so I want to be able to cook my food at the campsite.
Okay, okay, go for it. If you need a taste tester, I can be in the Midwest in
Yeah.
like a matter of hours.
Yeah, I'm learning today. I'm gonna figure that out. That's cool. So I also like to walk as well. So do you like to walk and listen to audiobooks at the same time? Yep. Okay.
Yes. Yeah. I feel like, they say you're supposed to like walk and, you know, listen to nature and do all the things. And I'm like, actually, can I listen to some N.K. Jemisin while I walk? Yes. And I love the audiobook walk combo.
Yes. Okay, so you mentioned that, we know you're a reader as well.
Hmm.
What are your favorite genres and do you have like a favorite like, top 3 books that are your
Oh,
faves? Some book
you
recs.
know that's an impossible question.
I
You
know.
know it's an impossible question.
I mean, it's okay to say my own, my own.
No, just because I like so much.
Yeah.
I like to read historical fiction. I like speculative fiction. So I just, said Inka Jemison. I love like all of her
Mhm.
trilogies and duologies. But I mean, I read everything. So I really like to taste like, I love Tolstoy. Like, give me some War and Peace any day. Like, I'll just pick it up and like, read through some of it if I have nothing else going on, which is rare. Um, so yeah, I don't think I have like most of my reading is probably speculative or historical, but I like everything. And I like things that have like love stories, and I like things that are like, um, I guess they call them character studies. Like I like to really get
Mhm.
into people. So whatever the genre, like let me get into people and like figure out who the character is and like really like connect with them. But if I had to pick top 3 books, oh my gosh. Really, Joy? That is so unfair.
Okay, maybe not top 3. Just 3 that you
Okay.
enjoy, that you would recommend.
Oh gosh. I'm always trying to like think about like new or like up and coming and emerging writers. So like
Yeah.
what are things that I would recommend for them? Oh my
And we can
gosh.
stick to the
Oh.
historical fiction genre. What are 3 historical fictions that you'd recommend to someone that's new to reading historical fiction? And that person is me. I am newer to reading historical fiction. So, what are 3 books you'd
Well,
recommend?
I mean, I guess I would say if you're thinking about canon, especially around like Black queer stories, I think you really got to read. I mean, most folks I've maybe read like Color Purple.
Yeah.
There's Women of Brewster Place by Gloria Naylor. That's like has a lesbian love story in it, but it's also this like your Black women focused in your reading. Like that's just a book that I think should be canon that everybody should read.
Yeah.
Um, I just been returning to Anne Petrie. Although that was like contemporary for her, but it feels like historical fiction for us, so kind of set in New York City. Um, I would say, oh gosh, Gwendolyn Brooks. Like I love Gwendolyn Brooks. She's got
Yeah.
Maud Martha, which I think is fantastic. Um, Need a list. I need to like send you them. Sarah,
Make
let me
that
look
a
at them.
Substack article.
Oh my gosh. Okay, that's what I'll do. That's what I'll
Yeah,
do.
put it on
Um,
Substack.
yeah, yeah, definitely. Jacqueline Woodson is doing amazing things. Um, Naomi Jackson. If you like poetry, check out our Erica Doyle. She's like an amazing Black lesbian poet. If you like other poets, there's LeConte Dill. Like, there's just okay. Just stop.
But this is great. Thank you. I love the book recs, okay? I'm going to take everything that
Hi.
you said and put it in a post so that I can have it listed out for people. Yes. But
Awesome.
if
I
you
know
do
you
write
said
the
good for you.
Substack, yes, please, and I'll share it.
Okay, great.
So we talked about the books and everything, but now that I know that you listen to audiobooks, do you agree with
Mhm.
people who say that audiobooks aren't reading? Or are you someone
No,
that's like, okay,
no, no, no. In the conversation, I've settled it
thank
for
you.
everybody. No.
Thank you. Audiobooks are reading, and y'all are
Yes, they
haters.
are. And there are studies that show that it activates the same like
Yes,
circuits in your brain that actually a book reading does. And I think that to me that also like feels a little ableist because
I
there are
agree.
people who cannot like see and read in that way. And then there are also people who like they struggle with dyslexia for who reading like physical books may be like more difficult for. And so I think to say that people are not reading is not fair. And it's the same. It's the same experience. We get the same joys, challenges, like emotional challenges, all of those things out of it. So no, I think it's reading. It feels like reading to me.
I agree. How has your experience been with marketing your book in this digital age that we're in with like social media, and some of the conversation has been around like the readers overly criticizing authors and the reviews. So, I've been bringing it up with everyone just to see how you all feel about it.
Yes, yes. You have hit all the sore spots in one question, Joy. I am impressed. So yeah, I mean, marketing is so difficult. And I think it's, most of us who write are writers. We are not marketers.
Yes,
Um, and I think when people read or are readers, you just see books in the bookstore or you see the stuff online and you don't know necessarily everything that an author has to do beyond the book writing to make all of that happen.
yes,
And I'm just going to put in a plug for the mental health of writers. Like, it's hard. Like you spend all this time writing a book and then you put it out into the world and people, everybody's open to critique and you can critique however you want to. I just as a person who's like now done the full circle of it, I feel like I was always way, but now I'm extra this way of like, I am only uplifting things. I am only like sharing, the positive and really like bringing light to things as opposed to being like, well, this person,
yes.
yeah, it was a little slow in chapter 3. Okay, great. I'm glad you think that way. I'm glad that you feel comfortable having that opinion and you welcome down that opinion. But like, I was listening to something, it was on social media and someone made a really good point about like, we don't walk into, you know, the art museum in New York City talking about I don't know that I really like Van Gogh's brush strokes
That's
in this
true.
one. We're like, oh no, like I get to look at a Van Gogh or like all the things. And so I think it's always good as a writer to get constructive feedback from folks. But where I think I've landed on it is that this is what it ended as. This is, at a certain point, I looked at my computer and I looked at the manuscript and I said, this is done. Like,
Yeah.
you can tinker around the edges for forever. You can make all the changes, but at a certain point, you have to call it done. And this is my art that I'm offering to the world. And so, I think sometimes we would all be served well if we could just take things from artists, because books are art,
Mm-hmm.
as this is art. And maybe I would have made a different decision in a book, but it wasn't my book and I didn't write it. So
That's true.
I'm going to take the art and just be grateful for it. And maybe if I ever become friends with the artist, I may say, hey, chapter 3, I don't know why. But I will also say there's also fun things that happen in book promotion too. Like there's something that happens in the book that has upset a number of people. And I've gotten messages from friends who, I've lost touch with over the years. Have like been in my Facebook DMs like, how could you? How could you? And I'm like, hey, how are you? Good to hear from you. And I'm sorry. Just that's how the story came out. So to circle back to the marketing thing,
Yeah.
marketing is hard. Social media is hard. I think in social media, people forget that we're all humans on
Yes.
the other side of it. And if we could remember that, that's good. I would say if you are the friends of someone who is launching a book or about to be launching a book, y'all need to be sharing and reposting everything.
Agreed.
Because we are, I think, I'm worried about getting annoying with my friends and family and like the folks who follow me. And then I was like, I just need the more y'all share it, the sooner I can stop.
Yeah.
Because we're trying to reach as many people as possible. And I don't think publishing these days knows this, can use the same tactics that have always worked, or they don't. I don't know if it's because they can't or they won't, but it's just a whole different ballgame. And so writers are just trying to figure out how to get through the basis
Yeah.
to find as many people as possible. Sorry, that was a wildly meandering off
No, it
answer,
wasn't.
Joy.
No, I really look. I am listening to you all when you're like, I'm really soaking everything up that you're saying, because what you're saying, although I'm not selling a book, what you're telling me also resonates with me with my podcast. Even
Uh,
as a podcaster, I like to just
yeah.
yap about books on a mic. I
Yeah.
struggle with the marketing. The marketing part, that's something different. I really don't have the funds to hire someone to do my own
Yes.
marketing.
Yes.
So that's the part that like I'm struggling. And to your point, I
Yeah.
feel like I've gotten the most support from random strangers that I've met through the book space than people
Yeah.
that know me personally, you know?
Yeah.
But I
I
know
think
that if I blow up, it's everybody, oh yeah, I already know how it's gonna switch up, you know.
I mean,
But
I think that happens. I also think people don't
yeah,
know how to support us. Like they think,
yeah.
oh, you've got it all done. Like I'm gonna tell you, Joy, your stuff is profesh. Like you look good. Like you're on point. Everything is mad organized. I'm like, oh, okay, this is so nice.
Thank
So
you.
from the outside looking in, people are like, oh, she got the podcast going, or she's got the book going. She doesn't need anything from me. And the thing that I've learned, especially in the past several months, has been that I just need to be very explicit and ask to folks. I wanted to do something in my hometown, and this is the hometown that I left because of all the stuff that happened in my early 20s, and so to go back was really difficult. And I got a hold of, was talking to a cousin who is straight up gorilla, and she was like, "Oh, okay, let me handle this for you." Joy, she like went to our local library and was like, my cousin wrote a book. This is the book. We need to do an event.
Wow.
We need to do all these things. These people had a billboard. My face on a
That's what I'm
billboard.
talking about.
And I was like, okay, I just needed to ask. Because she has the personality, the skills, the chutzpah, all the things to go out and make it
Wow.
happen in my hometown for me. But I hadn't asked. So I think
That's
just
real.
that figuring out how to be explicit and comfortable in asking when we need help, which is hard for me. So I've had to
I feel
learn and
like a
grow
lot
in
of
that
us
way.
struggle. A lot of Black women
Yes.
struggle. And working in
Yeah.
education, my students struggle. Like a lot of us just don't know how to ask for help. So I
Because we
needed
have
to
to do it
hear
on our
that.
own.
We do.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. Well, before we conclude our interview, is there
Mhm.
anything else you'd like to share with the listeners or anything you like to promote? Also, where can they go to learn more about your work? What's the name of your Substack? All the things.
Yeah, so to learn more about my work, just go to averyirons.com. It has a link that you can sign up for my Substack there. My Substack is called Root Word Spark, which is kind of like root, meaning we're rooted in the ground, and word means we are like grounded in the word, and spark is
Hmm.
we have visions for the future.
I love that.
Um, as Black women, our visions are on point. um,
We're
so, I
magic.
mean, thank you. Um, yeah, so I think just, sign up and like, let's chat. And I don't have anything to promote other than the book. Please pick up a copy,
Yes.
drop a review if you've read it. But also, I think in this moment, I just would always encourage folks, whether it's this book or another book, like there's so many great interviews that you have on Joy. I just read, Ann Georgia Lee's Ain't Too Old to Grind based on your article with
Yes.
her, which is fabulous. Pick up that book. Just really
Hmm.
find ways to support writers who are out here. We are grinding. we
Yes.
like and so find a book, pick up a book. If you see somebody that's doing a pre-order, like support them, because those first week sales really, really matter long term in ways that I think readers don't necessarily know about. So just find a Black woman writer and support her, and like put her stuff out and all those things. It doesn't have to be me, just anybody that speaks to you, because
Yes.
she's trying to find the folks who she speaks to. So let her know that she speaks to you.
Yes. And I also just want to take a little nugget that you dropped about us spending more time to be uplifting instead of tearing each other apart. You spent 20 years creating this book, writing this book for us. And, that dedication, that persistence to create that book, to write that, to research it, to put this out into the world, really taking the time to uplift that and just to recognize the work and the effort that it
Thank
went
you.
in to create another story to amplify Black queer voices, Black lesbian women,
Yeah.
and to preserve our
Yeah.
history and to showcase our history. That should be celebrated. So,
Thank you. We appreciate it.
giving you your flowers. Thank you for real. Thank you for taking time out of your life, taking time out of your craft to dedicate your work and your voice to this. Like, we really need it. I'm very grateful, very appreciative. And yeah, I just want everybody listening. Let's latch on to that nugget of wisdom to really use our
Thank you.
platforms and use our voices to be amplifiers, to uplift,
Absolutely.
to
Thank
empower.
you.
Yeah, because we need
I
more of it.
appreciate it.
We need more
Thank
of
you.
it.
I appreciate it. This book is very much for us.
Yes.
It is our story. Our story. I think lots of folks will see lots of their stories in here. And I think there's so many women, Black lesbian women. I guess we're always women, Black lesbian authors who are really trying to tell our stories, even as the world is like, stop. And we're like, no,
Yes.
no, we
No.
are valuable. Our story is worthy of being recorded and told. So let's hold on to those and,
Yes.
protect our stories. Definitely.
Exactly. And we do not let the market dictate what
No.
is important to us.
Oh my
Okay?
gosh. Yes. Yes. I love that. Thank you for that. Thank you.
Yes.
Yes.
So
We are the
we will
market.
take we
We
are
are the
the
market.
market. We are the
Like,
market.
don't let folks get it twisted. We are the market.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
And before we had traditional publishers, word of mouth. So we tell people, we
Hmm.
let people know, I read this book, I heard this interview, I think this is someone you
Absolutely.
should check out. We don't let them dictate this. We don't need them to, we do need them to help amplify, but we don't rely on them. We have power.
Exactly.
Our money, our
Yes.
dollars have power, and we need to
Hmm.
never lose sight of that. So
Hmm.
that's the purpose of this community. Okay, for us, by us. And
Yes.
thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Joy. I appreciate it. And thank you for creating this platform and this space for us. It's beautiful.
I received that. Thank you. The support goes both ways.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. That's how we all get through.
Yes.